Time for SNL. No Landry Locker this week. He's on vacation. So you got me, Cody Stutes. The 25 questions in 25 days continues. 25 questions in 5 days about the 25 season. It's my own thing. I'll get it right. Wag's already in the super chats. He loves the 25 days, 25 questions. That's why I said days. 25 questions about the 2025 season over the 5 days. 15 in the books, 10 still to go. 10 very important questions about this Texans team still to go. 5 today, 5 tomorrow. Appreciate you tuning into SNL, checking out the locker room where Landry does all his work, my channel where I do all my work, and then, of course, this channel where we do a combination. Appreciate JB for getting in. We'll save that movie talk there for the end. But it is 25 questions for the 2025 season. Yesterday, questions about Cam Robinson, questions about Derek Stingley. More to come here on the show today. Let's start with the thumbnail person that got you in here. What will Danielle Hunter do in year 2? What is this big-time pass rusher going to bring to the table for the Houston Texans in 2025? He was one of the most expensive free agents signed last offseason. The Texans paid him a tremendous amount of money on a 2-year deal. Ultimately, this offseason, after a very successful season, they extended it another year, so it's going to end up being 3 years. And right now, for an average annual value, Danielle Hunter falls only behind Myles Garrett in the amount of money made each and every year of a contract. And he was excellent last year. He played in all 17 games. He was one of the most consistent pass rushers in all of football. He finished with 12 sacks, which is down from his number with the Minnesota Vikings, but his total quarterback pressures and his pressure percentage were up from the previous year. He had 4 plays where his pass rush caused a turnover, according to NFL's advanced stats on NFL Plus. So Danielle Hunter was excellent last year. What's he going to do in year 2? What can he bring to the table? And I almost wonder, and I almost ask this probably unfairly, can he do more? Can he bring even more than what we saw in 2024 in 2025? Can Danielle Hunter go out there and replicate and improve upon what he did last season? And I kind of think he did. I kind of think he can. And here's why I suspect Danielle Hunter has a little bit more than what we saw. He played in a totally different defense for the first time in a long time last year with the Houston Texans. Totally different than what he had been experiencing in Minnesota all those years. The Vikings defense had a lot of read, react, adjust, things like that. The Texans just wanted him to go. Just go, Danielle. Just go. Just unleash the beast. Don't worry about it. And Hunter did a pretty darn good job with that. And it took him a minute to kind of get going, and most of his sacks hit middle of the year, towards the back end of the year, which leads me to believe that maybe he started to understand the defense a little bit more. And with the understanding of the defense, he was able to produce a little bit more. Now, if he has that understanding from the word go in 2025, are 16 sacks off the table? Are 15, 17 sacks off the table? I mean, think about it. Danielle Hunter, through his first 10 games with the Houston Texans, had 5.5 sacks. And then through the final 7 games, he rattled off 6.5 sacks. Like, very good production in those final 7 games. And I wonder if it's as he started to understand things a little bit more. Obviously, there are some moments there where he played, Will Anderson didn't. Did that help? Did Will Anderson's production help him? Well, if Will Anderson's even better and Danielle Hunter understands the defense even more than he did last year, isn't there a great chance that Danielle Hunter is a menace and going to be tough to defend and tough for opponents to slow down? You don't defend defenders, right? Isn't it a good chance with all of those factors, knowing the defense a little bit more, Will Anderson improving, the corners and safeties overall being a little bit better than they were last year? Doesn't that lend itself to a bigger counting year from Danielle Hunter? And again, I understand the counting stats, the sacks, they were what they were. The pressure percentage in the NFL. Quarterback pressure percentage amongst qualified defenders. Danielle Hunter was near the top. Danielle Hunter was a guy that you could count on a very consistent basis to go out there and get the quarterback. Only Micah Parsons matched him in quarterback pressure rate. And as far as total quarterback pressures, only Trey Hendrickson had more. He had 2 more than Danielle Hunter's 90. He was consistent. He was excellent when he was on the field. He was available for the entirety of the year. Danielle Hunter, what will he do in year 2? Well, I almost expect it to be better than year 1 for the Texans defensive end. What say you? Let's get to some of the comments, the questions, the joys, the concerns. We'll get to the other 4 questions as well. Primetime Vari says, for me, I think Hunter has to bring what he saw in Minnesota sacks-wise, which I believe he can. Last season, he missed a couple of sacks, and he started off pretty slow. Yeah, look, the slow start, definitely about getting his feet wet, understanding what the defense wanted him to do, understanding what his approach was supposed to be in the defense, and then he figured it out there on the back end. HDAV Traveler, good to see you in the chat. Appreciate you for your contribution and support of the channel. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you. JB Allen, the Annihilator, is excited to see Darrell Taylor, the free agent that the Texans added in the offseason. So I can't wait to see his growth in the defense. He thinks Taylor could be an 8-sack guy this season. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Swags points out maybe better production from the defensive tackles as well as the secondary getting a little bit better could make him even better. Certainly could. Team player Anderson takes over this year. I think the dirty little secret was that Will Anderson was as good, probably better than Danielle Hunter last year, even though some of the counting stats lent themselves to Danielle Hunter. I think that was a little bit of a dirty little secret. Primetime Vari again. I think Hunter starting off a good start early in the season. Unlike last season, he can definitely finish 15-plus sacks. I mean, we're talking about 2 guys that have lead the league in sacks potential to them, and Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Isn't that fun to talk about? Isn't that an excellent piece of a defense to have? Oh, by the way, you also have one of the best corners in football, one of the best young corners in football, perhaps an excellent safety tandem and good enough linebacking. Well, isn't that fun to talk about? That defense is going to be pristine in 2025. Going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, and as Original J notes, somehow Danielle Hunter found a way to add muscle to his frame. 5 pounds of muscle, which I don't know that there was – I didn't know that there were muscles that you could have added to what Danielle Hunter had. My hair looks like a disaster. I didn't know there were muscles that you could have added to what Danielle Hunter had, but he said it. He looks bigger. Can Darrell Taylor play DT? I don't think so. He's definitely a defensive end. Question number 2. Is Jaylen Pitre a key to this defense? And notice I said a key and not the key to the defense. Is Jaylen Pitre a key to the defense in 2025? And here's why I ask that. The Texans, either by necessity or desire, ended up putting Jaylen Pitre at that nickel slot cornerback spot and playing with 2 linebackers on the field and playing with 5 defensive backs on the field. That's what they opted to do for the majority of last season. That essentially became the way that they played defense when it mattered the most. And Pitre, around the line of scrimmage, was excellent. He was incredible. You think about some of the things right off the top of my head, I can think of 3 plays where Jaylen Pitre had a hand in forcing a turnover. Neville Hewitt ended up with an interception in the Green Bay game, I believe it was. Jimmy Ward had an interception because Pitre knocked it up. And then, of course, when he threw himself as a missile into the Cowboys offensive lineman who'd picked up the fumble, and then Big Derek Barnett picked that up, scooped it, and scored it against the Dallas Cowboys. And right off the bat, there's 3 plays that you could think of. Line of scrimmage, Pitre was excellent last year. The coverage, not good. Not good. He's one of the worst cover players on the team. He was the worst regularly playing defensive back from a coverage standpoint last year. He allowed a higher catch percentage than a lot of the other guys. He allowed a higher passer rating than a lot of the other guys that regularly played. He did not get the coverage squared away. So if they're going to put Jaylen Pitre on the field this year, teams going to try to find him on the field, match up one of their good receivers, and put Pitre in a precarious position. But if his coverage is better, and that allows them to continue to play those 5 defensive backs like they want, then perhaps the Texans are going to be even more difficult to score on than they were last year. Because if Pitre's coverage gets better, or the Texans have a coverage element to relieve Pitre when he's clearly going to be in coverage situations, then there's a situation and an opportunity for the Texans defense to minimize their exposure to negative Pitre plays and to maximize his ability when he is in there to go out there and affect the game and impact the game. And if DeMeco Ryans prefers to play defense that way, and really the way that the opposing offenses across the National Football League operate, you're going to see 3 wide receivers a lot. So Pitre's going to be in a situation where either he's ending up on a tight end or he's ending up on a slot cornerback, and he's going to have to go out there and cover. I do feel as though it would have been his responsibility to cover Travis Kelce in the playoffs last year, not Azeez Al-Shaair. Would he have done better than Al-Shaair? Even though his coverage wasn't good, I tend to believe he would have done a little bit better than Al-Shaair in the Travis Kelce assignment that Al-Shaair did not do well at last year in the playoffs. Remember, Travis Kelce been kind of quiet all year long. Boom, started rumbling and tumbling, stumbling and fumbling and all those things in the playoffs because Azeez Al-Shaair couldn't keep up with him. If Pitre was there, it might have looked different. I don't know if it would have, but I suspect he would have drawn that assignment and perhaps would have been a player better equipped to handle what Travis Kelce brought to the table. So what's Pitre going to cover when he is in coverage? Is his coverage game better than it is last year? And if he is a better cover player and DeMeco Ryans gets to play defense the way he wants to play defense with just 2 linebackers and 5 DBs, oh boy, watch out for the Houston Texans defense even more than you're already watching out for the Texans defense. Couple of comments and questions about the Texans. Rick says, howdy, Cody. Our scissors will snip a lot of QB heads. Yeah, those defensive ends having a little lunch at the quarterback, that's going to happen more than a few times. JB says, Pitre's definitely a key in this defense. He's going to disrupt that line of scrimmage. Yeah, the line of scrimmage disruption, I have no fears about Pitre being able to affect the game that way. It's just when he's put into coverage, when he has those opportunities to cover, is he going to be better? Is he going to look better than he did last year? And JB putting high praise on him. Pitre Polamalu. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. That's kind of a fun nickname, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Wags, he'll be used in more sub linebacker packages. Hard to start him with Bullock and Gardner Johnson back there. I think it's harder to put a third linebacker on the field than it is to put Pitre on the field. So I almost wonder if they're going to start with Pitre on the field for most of their defensive setups. And I do believe that actually is going to be the case, unless Christian Harris and Henry To'o just look amazing out there with Azeez Al-Shaair. And even then, you're still going to quickly find a way to get Jaylen Pitre on the field. Question number 3 for the day. Can Jaylin Noel be a day one weapon? Now, somebody asked about this, asked about Jaylin Noel the other day, asked about special teams. And I feel like that's actually where right away he could be a day one weapon for the Houston Texans, is punt return and maybe even kick return. There should be opportunities to be the punt returner for this team. And when you think about the type of player you'd like to use on punt return, you don't really want to use one of your top 3 wide receivers. Well, your top 3 are Nico Collins, not going to use him. Jaden Higgins, not going to use him. And Christian Kirk, you could use him. Why not use Jaylin Noel, who's got a little bit more speed dynamic, doesn't have an injury history, played a ton of football at Iowa State. His only missed game was because of a stomach bug that he just couldn't get out there on the field. So he is a durable player, and he's speedy. He's dynamic with the football in his hands at the college level and even on special teams in college. Give him that opportunity in the pros. Now, that's special teams. Can he help you at wide receiver right away? I just did a video on this earlier today about how Jaden Higgins and Jaylin Noel could both be steals for the Houston Texans in 2025. And the thought process behind Noel and the conversation there is he's got to be able to get on the field. Well, there's a very clear path to him being on the field. There's a very clear and easy way to see how Jaylin Noel ends up on the football field. One, he possesses speed like no other wide receiver does. So you have him to slop outside and take the top off of the defense and push those safeties back. So there's a little bit more operation room for CJ Stroud and this offense. Number 2, you can put multiple slot receivers on the field. You could put Christian Kirk outside and dump Noel inside. You could put Jaden Higgins outside and put Kirk and Noel inside in 4 wide receiver sets. Christian Kirk's got an injury history. What if he's got to miss time? Boom, there's an opportunity for Jaylin Noel. Can day one Jaylin Noel help this team? Absolutely. Absolutely he can. Bill Parcells, his famous saying of many of his famous sayings, one of his famous sayings was, what can you do for me on game day? Well, if you're Jaylin Noel, you can help on special teams, you can help at slot wide receiver, and you can help outside and take the top off the defense. That to me sounds like a player that on day one can certainly help the Houston Texans compete and can certainly help the Houston Texans on offense. I just really love the idea that he brings speed that so many of these other guys don't bring to the table right off the bat. Wag says, I think Noel will shake things up, give defense a different look, and thrive in 4 wide receiver sets. I'm desperate to see 4 wide receivers out there. The 4 wide receivers and Joe Mixon in the backfield, give it to me. I'm desperate to see that. Desperate. JB Allen, the Annihilator. Thought Barrios is going to return kicks and punts. I don't want Noel returning anything. I want all our top wide receivers to focus on catching passes from CJ Stroud. Yeah, Barrios has got to get healthy. So Braxton Berrios coming back from an ACL injury, worked out on the side field in OTAs and minicamp. He's got to be healthy, and then he's got to go out there and contribute and showcase that he is much better at the at the return game than these other guys to justify his position on the field. Because I don't know that he could affect the game from the slot wide receiver position. He basically hasn't played much slot wide receiver in his past couple seasons in the National Football League. He's primarily been a return guy. So if he makes the team as the returner, that's fine. Noel doesn't do the returning. He finds himself getting opportunities out there on the field at slot wide receiver, maybe a little bit outside, take the top off the defenses, can still help day one. Wag saying 350-plus yards this year for Noel. Trying to think. I mean, I could see him easily getting to 400, 500. I mean, if the passing game is better, which it should be, the passing game is better, the offensive line's a little bit more consistent, he could easily get to 400, 500 receiving yards. I really do. I really do. It's glad you asked this question, Wags. I could see like 425 and 2-3 touchdowns. 425 and 2-3 touchdowns. And I'm trying to, as I think about that, I wonder what would 425 receiving yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns look like for the Texans from a receiving standpoint last year? Like where in the pecking order of those things would it have been? I mean, he'd have been the 4th wide receiver, the 4th wide receiver, the 5th pass catcher, because Diggs in 8 games had 496 before he got hurt. So if Noel had 425, 425 would be good for 5th in receiving last year. And then 2-3 touchdowns. I mean, Dalton Schultz had 2 touchdowns last year. Diggs had 3. Tank Dell had 3 before he got hurt. So, 425. You're trying to get if CJ's number is, if CJ's going to throw for 3,750, let's say 3,750. Let's just call it a conservative estimate of 1,300 for Nico. That leaves 2,450. Let's carve out, I don't know, 700 yards for the tight ends. These are about 1,750. Can Noel get 750 receiving yards? I mean, Higgins get 750, maybe. So now you got about 1,000 receiving yards to kind of spread out over the course of the team. He could easily get 400 or so and a couple of touchdowns. What former Texans wide receiver would you compare him to? Good question. I need to think on this one, Wags. Remind me to answer this tomorrow. I need to think on this one. That's a good question, Wags. I appreciate you for the super chats. Yeah, that safety net. That slot receiver is going to be that safety net. That offensive line's not as good or takes a little time gelling. the slot receivers getting open quick and fast is going to be a big asset to the Houston Texans offense. Certainly. All right, question number 4. Somebody asked about Ersery in the chat. Is Ersery needed now or later? Is Ersery needed now or later for the Houston Texans? As of today, June 26th, 2025, I would tell you he's needed later. But keep an eye on right tackle. I'm less concerned about Cam Robinson and left tackle than I am concerned about Blake Fisher just not being ready and Ersery needing to play at right tackle from day one and them trusting him more than Blake Fisher. That would be, to me, the most likely Ersery on the field day one scenario. Is Blake Fisher not ready, Blake Fisher not getting it done, and they need to slide the rookie, Ersery, in there at right tackle just because they trust him more at right tackle. That's the day one Ersery scenario that makes the most sense to me and I would say is the most likely. The second scenario would be that he just beats out Cam Robinson and he's the starting left tackle. I don't believe he's going to do that. I still feel like there's some things that Ersery needs to fine-tune and hammer out of his game before he'd be capable of being trusted with that left tackle assignment on a day-in, day-out basis from the Houston Texans. Cam Robinson, I know he had a rough year last year, better run blocking, not as good as pass blocking, allowed a bunch of hurries, allowed a bunch of sacks last year. I think a career high in sacks last year allowed by Cam Robinson. It's okay. You just need some average play out of there at left tackle. And if Robinson gets hurt, he's got an injury history, then you've got Ersery to bump right in there. And then maybe if he's already at right tackle, you find somebody else to play right tackle, you move Ersery over to left tackle. Is he going to be needed now or later? I hope the answer is later because that means that Fisher and Robinson locked it down. They could be your tackles for this year, and you figure out Ersery's spot later or next year. But if you need him now, I would say right tackle's more likely, and then you would use him at left tackle if Robinson indeed could not make it work at left tackle, which is certainly a possibility. We talked about him yesterday. So a little bit of speed might be an issue early on for Ersery, but once he gets his hands on guys, I'm not worried about him once he actually figures out some of the speed and the timing of the NFL. And really all I've seen is OTAs and minicamp. I haven't seen him in pads. The first day in pads, that'll be one to watch for the first day in pads, Ersery. So one more question for today, a couple of other comments as well. Wags thinks he's got the starting line going. Robinson, Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, Jarrett Patterson, Titus Howard, and Blake Fisher. I tend to agree with you on this. I would flip Patterson with Jake Andrews and just call it a day there. But I like your guards and your tackles. And ideally, you want Fisher to lock that thing down because you want to know that he's a guy you could trust. If not, he's sitting here in his second year and a rookie beats him out or Zach Thomas beats him out. That'd be not good. Fisher doesn't look good. I mean, he had a couple of rough moments in OTAs and minicamps, and DeMeco Ryans constantly mentions, hey, got to get low. And then he called out Blake Fisher specifically on, he's got to get his pad level lower. So to me, I think that there's a little danger there with Fisher. There's a little danger. And if he's even with Ersery, just start Ersery. If Fisher's even with Ersery, just start Ersery. That would be my conversation point. JB Allen says, hey, the history, he's not going to be very good. Yeah, the offensive line's been rough around these parts. And you shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt if you're the Houston Texans, the way they've operated with this offensive line. So now here's a $1 million, $1 trillion question. I skipped billion because that's how important it is. Question number 5 for the day. How much better is Nick Caley going to be than Bobby Slowik? How much better is Nick Caley going to be taking over as the offensive coordinator than Bobby Slowik was last year as the offensive coordinator? And I hope that this is absolutely, for sure, undoubtedly, way better. Because if he is way better than Bobby Slowik, that means a lot of different things have been solved. That means the blocking scheme is a lot better. That means that the passing attack is a lot better. It means that the rushing attack is more efficient. Remember, they had some big rushing moments last year, and then they couldn't consistently get the ball going. They couldn't consistently get the ball. They couldn't consistently get the ball going on the ground, and it was just very herky-jerky, the offense. So Nick Caley, he's got a lot of work ahead of him. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. He's got a lot of things that he has to improve and fine-tune and change. It starts up front with the offensive line, but even with CJ Stroud. Yeah, Stroud's getting a little bit more of control of this offense. Stroud's getting a little bit more input in how they operate, changing things at the line of scrimmage. Well, Nick Caley's got to get CJ Stroud ready for that at an NFL level. He's got to equip him with those tools. He's got to make sure that he figures out ways to use Nico Collins like he has been used successfully the past 2 seasons. That shouldn't be hard. He's seen big-time wide receivers get used successfully in his career a bunch of different times. He's got to make sure that Christian Kirk utilizes his talents at the slot really well. He's got to integrate those rookies. He's got to figure out what behind Joe Mixon is useful and helpful and when to use them. He's got to make sure Joe Mixon gets going. There's a lot on Nick Caley's plate, but if he is 50% better than Bobby Slowik, they should be an excellent offense. They should be an excellent offense. Now, there's a little bit of, there's a little bit of unknown factors in there. The offensive line might stink, and Nick Caley might be really good at his job. Well, the offensive line stinks. It doesn't matter. We saw that a little bit last year. But Bobby Slowik was awful. He was predictable. He did not evolve. He did not change things at halftime. That's another thing that Caley's got to be able to do. Adjust at halftime. There's no secret sauce at halftime, Bobby Slowik said last year. Yeah? How come everybody else kicks your ass outside of halftime? How come everybody's defense looks better against your offense out of halftime? I think there's something to halftimes. I'd say chief amongst it, got to fix the offensive line as best he can with his system, with what he calls, what he coaches. That's the top thing. Got to fix the passing attack. Got to be able to be consistent, throw the ball when they want, access talents of CJ Stroud. Got to be more consistent in the rushing attack, and then got to be able to adjust at halftime of games. My goodness, you've got to be able to adjust at halftimes of games. Terrible, terrible job by Bobby Slowik last year. Terrible. Wags with a super chat question. We'll get to a couple more questions, and then I'm going to run for the day. Why were you not sold on Ersery initially? I didn't think they needed a tackle. I thought they needed a guard. But as I read more about him, as I learn more about him, as I watch him a little bit more, I get it. And I understood it for 2026 and beyond. I just didn't understand it in 2025. But, Blake Fisher looks stinky in OTAs and minicamp, and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more clear why Ersery's on this team. Appreciate you for the super chats today, Wags. James R with a super chat. If Josh Simmons ends up being an all-pro tackle, I'm going to blame you for us not having him. And that's fine. I'll take that blame. I'll eat that crow. Okay? He's not going to be an all-pro tackle, though. Josh Simmons, coming off of a serious knee injury, is not going to be worth that first-round pick that the Chiefs spent on him. It is not. It is not. As Michael notes, so basically Nick Caley's got to fix the whole offense. Pretty much. You got to get more out of the tight ends, too. JB says, Slowik would call a screen to Nico where literally everyone knew that was the play. That was annoying. Yeah, the screenplay era. Oh, boy. Steverino, just by showing up, Caley's better than Bobby. Well, I hope so. Look, the diverse background of Nick Caley compared to Bobby Slowik is an intriguing element as well. So that's something that's useful. Butterbean didn't hold his guys accountable. Caley will. Yeah, it did not feel like Bobby Slowik was a great leader. I don't know. I wasn't in there. I wasn't led by Bobby Slowik. But it just didn't seem like the players totally bought into the Bobby Slowik approach. Original J, Slowik seemed lost at times, very lost. I have faith Caley will at least not look lost out there. That's the hope. Don't look lost. Wags wants accountability and owning mistakes That'd be a better sign than Slowik. O-line wasn't accountable. No, they were not. No, they were not. All right. One TV or a movie question, and then I'll give you my thoughts on movies real quick. JB Allen says, picking up on that James Gunn talk, which is the new director for Superman. Anyone see a little snippet of Lex Luthor and Superman? And Superman's all crying like a baby about his dog. Fantastic Four is going to dog walk this in movies. So I have a trailer rule. Now, I got a buddy of mine that doesn't watch movie trailers. Okay, I got a buddy of mine that doesn't watch movie trailers. He don't watch them at all. He just finds out when the movie's coming out. If he thinks the movie sounds good or somebody tells him it's good, he goes and watches it. I watch a trailer once. I watch the first trailer. That's it. I don't watch any subsequent trailers. I don't watch any leaked scenes. I watch a trailer once. I decide if that movie's worth my time, not worth my time, and then that's it. I try to go in with having seen the fewest things about that movie. So I think that's a fun approach to when you finally do see a movie, you're not super surprised or you're like, oh, I saw that in the trailer. I didn't see that in the trailer. And I used to be hardcore, watch every trailer, everything guy. I watch a trailer once. Is it worth my time? Is it not worth my time? If it's not, somebody's going to need to convince me. I'll come around or I'll watch it when it comes out on streaming. But yeah, I watch one trailer. I don't watch any of the follow-up trailers. And your point about Fantastic Four, I think, is interesting because I believe Fantastic Four should have been released on July 4th. Why didn't they do that? That would have made a lot of sense. Fantastic Four on July 4th. Come on. Patrick likes my move. Smart move. The trailer folks aren't always the same as the director. They spoil things like the Dickens. Yeah, gotta be careful. Okay, 5 questions in the books. 5 questions in the books for today. 20 questions over the course of the week. Already finished. The 5 tomorrow, there's some doozies. Tomorrow. We haven't talked about 2 of the biggest pieces of the Houston Texans in 2025. We will talk about those. A couple of conversations about the head coach, and then one big loaded question to wrap it all up tomorrow. Plenty of stuff coming your way on the locker room. Plenty of stuff coming your way on my channel. I got the will Jaylin Noel and Jaden Higgins be a steal? And what is the anatomy of a steal? I got that on the channel right now. You can check that out. Got a food review for you tomorrow. Might have 2 food reviews for you this week. Knuckles, don't be weird, Cody. LOL, genuinely want to know your perspective. About what? Am I miss a question? Oh, here we go. Yeah, sorry I missed it, Knuckles. Lots of questions in here. You think Caserio is in denial about his and his draft team's O-line evaluation? What can he do to fix it? Well, the thing that it seems, would have had an element to fix this year is a different style of offense than what they previously had run the past couple of years. They went in and got larger offensive linemen than they have had in the past couple of years. And then part of it is the offensive line coach and him being a part of the evaluation process as well, evaluating guys who are already in the league and evaluating guys who you bring in from the rookie draft. So you have to lean on some of the new things to hope that you don't have some of the old things associated with it. So that's what I would say about that. Wags has a question. What's your favorite all-time movie? Drama or like more dramatic or like Rocky. I love Rocky. Rocky's great. My favorite action movie of all time is Point Break. I love Point Break. I don't know why it sticks with me so much, but Swayze, Keanu, Johnny Utah, Bodie. I mean, it's just love Point Break. Campy, hokey, like, hey, that's really only a movie that gets made about that time. Roadhouse. I don't know what Roadhouse fits into. I don't know if it's action or adventure or drama or comedy or whatever, but I just think that's only a movie that could have been made in the late 80s, early 90s. So I'm going to say timepiece movie. So Roadhouse. My favorite comedy of all time is either Tommy Boy or Dumb and Dumber. I think those are tied for me. Depends on the day. Either Tommy Boy or Dumb and Dumber. I love Farley. But man, Carey and Daniels are incredible. I think I quote Dumb and Dumber more than Tommy Boy, but I do use a lot of Tommy Boy in my day to day. I think that's it. I don't have like a favorite romance movie. But yeah, my probably my 5 favorite movies of all time, depending on the order any given day, are Point Break, Roadhouse, Tommy Boy, Dumb and Dumber, and Rocky. Those are my 5 favorite movies on any given day. I just threw on Point Break the other day. Utah, 2. Give me 2. Landry will be back next week. 33rd team, giving us the 30th worst offensive grade. That high, huh? Offense or 30th worst off-season grade. Brandon, can you email me that? We could talk about that on the show tomorrow. Okay. The Nightingale by Jennifer Kent is in my top 4. Okay, JB, I'll put it on my list. I liked Black Sheep probably more than most people. Landry probably has not seen any of those movies. You're correct. Probably not. Favorite football movies. I love The Program. Latimer, first team, goes outside, smashes the window. Incredible. I love The Program. I like Any Given Sunday. I like Any Given Sunday a lot. So I like that one. And Remember the Titans is incredible. So how do you not like that one? Do we talk about Jaden Higgins this stream? Can never get enough of Nico 2.0. Engineer, you're going to like tomorrow. I got a video up about Jaden Higgins right now, but you're going to like tomorrow's SNL. All right, couple more. Wags, you never seen Point Break? Man, it's a heist action movie, like it's a bank robbery movie, but it's also like a detective drama. I love Point Break, man. I love Point Break. Such a good movie. It makes me want to surf every time I see it. It makes me want to surf. And Keanu Reeves playing Johnny Utah, a former college football star who goes into the FBI Academy. I did not name Waterboy. It's a funny football movie. Keanu's in The Replacements. I like The Replacements pretty good. Sumo wrestler as an offensive lineman was always a funny one. Yeah, Jay knows about that. Cody grow out a beard. I look terrible when I get facial hair. It looks awful. It doesn't grow in right. I think we're going to finish on Dorino's comment. I do my best to eat good and sleep good, but if my wife wears a new muumuu, it's hard to be good. Dorino. What a congrats on the heeing and sheeing. All right, I lied. Couple more. Thought you were going to say unnecessary roughness. It's fine. Brian's song, obviously emotional. Obviously carries a lot of real life to it. On a scale of 1 to never, will the Texans ever rename the team the Houston Apollos? Never. From 1 to never, never. And new longest yard goes hard too. I like that one. All right, that'll do it for the stream today. I got to get to a charity event. I'm taking Mama Stoots to a charity gala tonight. So she's excited about that. So I'm headed off to do that. Landry would tell you it doesn't matter if you like the movies and watch all of them or just only watch some of them, or you don't like movies that have anything to do with anything that you require imagination, that we're all in this together. And I would tell you, the Rhino, you listening? Eat good, sleep good, and be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate you. Check out the Locker Room with Landry stuff, my channel, and, of course, thank you for the support of SNL. See you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Got a doozy for you tomorrow. We're going to have some fun. Don't you forget it.